Okay, we should start now. Welcome everybody to this call, to this webinar with Doré Copper Mining. Doré Copper is a copper gold developer in Quebec, in the north of Quebec. They've already bought a dozen of, is that right, Ernie? I think 12 or 13 projects with copper gold, and they already have their own mill. So that's a big advantage for the company. We will have a presentation, very direct and clear, from Ernest Mast. He's the founder and the CEO of the company. Afterwards, we will have a Q&A session, and I will also translate everything to German, because I think most of the people here are from Germany, but some are not. So I will switch. Ja, willkommen allerseits. Schön, dass Sie dabei sind bei unserem Webinar heute mit Doré Copper Mining. Mit mir ist Ernest Mast, er ist der CEO und einer der Gründer der Company. Doré Copper entwickelt im Norden Quebecs in einem Mining Camp mehrere Projekte. Es sind 13 Vorkommen, es sind fast überall ehemalige historische Minen und das Ziel ist, mit der eigenen Verarbeitungsanlage Copper Rand, die etwa im Zentrum dieser Vorkommen ist, ein Hub-and-Spoke-Modell zu etablieren, indem man diese Anlage zunächst mit wahrscheinlich von 2 Vorkommen aus mit Kupfer und Gold beliefert. Kupfer, Gold, es ist eher eine Kupfer-Company, aber wir haben auch viele Vorkommen mit einem hohen Goldanteil. Insofern ist hier eine gute Mischung gegeben, denke ich. Der Goldpreis war ja zuletzt ein bisschen schwächer, jetzt sind wir wieder bei 1800 ungefähr. Kupfer war wieder stark. Gestern haben die Chinesen bekannt gegeben, dass sie weitere Kupfervorräte aus ihren Reserven verkaufen werden. Das hat dazu geführt, dass der Kupferpreis erstmal stark gestiegen ist. Der hat dann aber heute wieder nachgegeben aufgrund des starken Dollars. Ich denke, wir sehen trotzdem bei Kupfer, das ist eine Konsolidierung nach dem All-Time-High, das wir gesehen haben vor ein paar Monaten, und bin da eigentlich ganz optimistisch, dass Doré Copper zur rechten Zeit an den Markt kommen wird. Okay. Sie können per Chat, können Sie mir Ihre Fragen schicken. Wir machen danach eine Fragerunde. Ich übersetze dann auch wieder gerne, wenn es auf Deutsch sein soll. Und jetzt legen wir einfach los. Okay, Ernie, I think we can start. Please share your screen. And maybe at the beginning you can introduce yourself, a little bit about your background.
Okay, thank you, Tarik, and great to be here. I'm Ernest Mast. I'm a engineer by training, and have worked 30 years in the industry. I've been working in the copper industry, the gold industry, the nickel industry, as a student, a little bit of time in the steel industry. And I've spent most of my career working in the Americas, throughout Latin America, the United States, Canada, working in all aspects of the mining chain. So on exploration projects, on development projects, on construction projects, and of course, in operations. So it's my pleasure to present our company again to your group. We've had some interesting we had some interesting drill results come out recently, and I'll highlight those during the presentation today. I'll be making forward-looking statements during the presentation, and so what we're looking to do as a company is commence a series of operations in the Chibougamau area. This is 500 kilometers due north of Montreal, where we have a number of deposits, some of them past operating mines, other ones with just a resource developed, and feed that to our centralized copper rand mill that has a capacity of 2,700 tons a day. This camp was in operation for approximately 50 years and stopped operating in 2008. All these sites are very well connected via the Quebec infrastructure. We have provincial roads, there's a daily flight to the area, and there's also rail access. High points of the company to consider for investment. One of them is we have brownfield assets in an excellent jurisdiction being Quebec. Brownfield assets are always advantageous because they're less expensive to develop. Quebec is very supportive of the mining industry in the province, and there's different financial incentives for exploration companies and development companies like ourselves that we can take advantage of that make financing the projects much easier. The deposits that we have, and we have 13 in total, are high grade in nature. They're high grade copper, or they're high grade gold, or the combination of copper and gold makes them high grade. They also have significant growth potential. And today in this presentation, we'll be talking about some of the exploration results that show the exploration potential at the Corner Bay property more specifically. The team we've put together is very experienced in copper and gold, working in Quebec, working in Canada, working in underground mining. And the board is also quite diverse in terms of having financial people, having operational people, and other technical scientific type people on the board. So we've got a very good mix. And we have infrastructure. So not only do we have the deposits, but we have roads to all the deposits. We have power to most of the deposits. We actually have the mining infrastructure. We have hoists, we have a mill, we have a tailings facility. And these are all things that are going to result in a lower capital cost when we look to build the project. This is the company structure. The three founders of the company, myself, Ewan Downey, and Mario Stefano, we're still heavily involved in the company, with myself as the president and CEO and Mario as the chairman. We've hired staff to complement the operating team, and it's key that a lot of that staff has experience and are living in Chibougamau, and that's going to advance the project in a more sustainable way for the company. And the board of directors, as I mentioned, is a very good mix of financial and operational people. So the current capital structure of the company is as follows. We have 66 million shares outstanding. The share price is approximately 90 cents, 92 cents now Canadian. Less than 10% of the share count is out as warrants and as options, and most of that is coming off towards the end of this year. The major shareholder of the company is a group called Ocean Partners, and that's the group that we obtained the shares from, or the company from, when we launched the company in 2017. Insiders control approximately 10% of the company. We've got a good retail following that we've built up over the years. It's now 33%. And it should also be mentioned that Quebec funds are 9% owners of the company. This is a Quebec pension fund, a Northern Development Fund, and an exploration fund. And these are all government-related funds that have invested into the company as equity investors. And we have a series of other private equity groups and other investors currently in the company. And with the recent financings that we've done, we've brought in some new significant investors as well, which is great because we continue to diversify our shareholders. The company currently has coverage by Paradigm and Cormark, and via Tarik, you could gain access to that coverage or that research. And as I mentioned, the company, we started as a private company in 2017. We did exploration work, established the fact that there is excellent exploration potential in this area. And so we then went ahead and listed publicly on the TSX.V exchange in late 2019. We've done a series of capital raises. We drilled 27,000 meters last year. This year, we're on our way of drilling 40 to 50,000 meters. Our drilling is mainly focused on expanding the size of the current resource. We'll be coming up very shortly with resource updates for Joe Mann and for Corner Bay. And at the end of the year, we plan on publishing a PA showing how we can put all of these assets together into a business plan. Our commodities are copper and gold. The mix of value between copper and gold will vary depending on the mines that are in operation, but we will have more value from copper than gold over the life of mine. The copper industry right now is very interesting. The price of copper is approximately $4.20 American per pound. And that is very close to historical highs. And we did establish a new historical high earlier this year. The price has come down, but it's kind of settled a little bit over that $4 range, which for copper producers is a marvelous and very high price. And the reason why the prices are high is that there is a deficit that is projected to occur by the end of the decade. The research that we're showing here is showing a 5 million ton deficit that was determined by RBC and Wood Mackenzie. Other groups such as Goldman Sachs have done other research, and they even project a higher deficit. And the reason that that deficit is going to occur is a mix of two factors. On the supply side, the large mines of the world, mainly in Latin America, also in the Southwest US, also in Indonesia, they're decreasing in grade and they're getting deeper, and sometimes they're even transitioning to underground mining. So there's going to be a fall off of production from the existing producing mines. And then the production required to step in to fill the supply demand gap. A lot of those projects are either small or very difficult to permit or very low grade. And the low grade projects, there's a number of them, but they need a much higher incentive price in order to be built. And that's one of the reasons why we're seeing this high incentive price. And on the demand side, copper's had growth over the last 40 years of about 2.5% compounded, and that's continued, expected to grow. It's expected to continue to grow just like that. And there's different macro economic factors that affect the growth of copper. We had the large urbanization in China and India, which is still continuing to occur, but now we're having a new phenomenon, which is the electrification of transportation, which is occurring all throughout the developing world. And that is going to give a big boost to copper consumption because the electric vehicles need cars. The power to power the electricity to power those cars is coming from renewable sources, which is more copper intensive than the traditional large thermoelectric or large hydroelectric power plants. Gold is a byproduct for the company. It's an excellent kind of hedge with the copper price as well. Gold prices are approximately $1,800 an ounce, again, close to all-time highs. The all-time high was achieved last year. And gold, looking at the fiscal stimulus is that occurring throughout the world, the low interest rate environments, all that does is really support price of gold going forward. And as I mentioned before, copper use in electric vehicles and hybrids use 2 to 3.5 times more copper than a standard vehicle. And many countries have declared a date whereby they're going to be all electric, whether it's 2035 or 2040. And when you do the math, you realize the world needs a lot more copper in order to support this electrification. It should be noted that the copper in the vehicles isn't necessarily used in the batteries, it's used in the electric motors. So no matter what type of battery technology wins at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter for the copper industry because the electric motors that power the wheels are going to require lots of copper. And then the power, as I mentioned, to produce that is going to come from more renewable sources, which is going to be another source of demand for copper. This map shows the company's assets in a little more detail. We have 12,100 hectares spread out in the Chibougamau mining camp. The furthest distance from a mine to the mill is 60 kilometers, which is the distance from Joman to the mill. This camp operated from the 1950s to 2008 and produced 1.6 billion pounds of copper and 4.4 million ounces of gold. And we do believe there's still a lot of significant resources in the camp. As I mentioned, we have 13 different properties with mineralization. We're currently focused on 4 of them for the PEA, but the PEA will really just be a snapshot in time because we do expect to continue to explore and expect to grow the resources. We do want to have a PEA done, so that makes our project official in the eyes of the Quebec government, and that's going to aid with the permitting process as we go forward. And we're currently doing a 50,000 meter drill program over the course of this year. The main assets that we have are the Corner Bay mine, located 45 kilometers by road to the mill. The Devlin deposit, which is also a principally copper deposit, located 5 kilometers from Corner Bay. The Joman deposit, which is principally a gold mine. And then we have Copper Rand, Cedar Bay, and Lac Doré, which are a little more gold than copper, but almost 50-50. And then the Gwillim and Norbo properties are principally gold properties. If we look at the company's assets in terms of the grade compared to comparative companies, we see that we are situated very well. On the left-hand side in green, we see the copper equivalent grade of Corner Bay and Cedar Bay compared to different underground copper-based projects in North America. We're one of the highest grade projects. And on the right-hand side, we see the resource grades for our gold properties, and also the reserve grade or the past producing mine grade at Joman compared to other gold properties in Canada. And we also see that we're very well situated in terms of grade. So then on top of the high grade, we layer the fact that we're in a brownfield environment. We're in the province of Quebec, which is very supportive. We're beside a mining town, Chibougamau, which we have a lot of mining history and a lot of people with experience with mining. This should result together to put together a low capital cost type project when we look to restart. I'll talk about the Cedar Bay deposit now in a little more detail. The Corner Bay deposit in a little more detail. The Corner Bay deposit was about 90% built by a previous owner, and they put in a 2 kilometers of development. They took a 40,000 ton bulk sample. They accessed 3 levels, but they never got into stope mining. They just took development ore. They processed it in the mill and had a 94% copper recovery. The mineralization here is very clean. You can see from the photo of the core, it's just a mix of chalcopyrite and pyrite, virtually no impurities, and that will result in a very clean concentrate. And it's possible that our concentrates will be exported from the port of Quebec and end up at the Norddeutsche Raffinerie in Hamburg. But there's also a couple of other smelters in Northern Europe that the concentrate may go to. The current resources at the Corner Bay deposit are 3 million tons at 3.47% copper and 0.28 grams per ton gold. When we acquired these assets in 2017, we had 1.5 million tons. So we've actually doubled the size of the deposit. And with the drilling that the company is currently undertaking, we believe that we will quite confident that we're going to get to 5 million tons and keep the grade over 3%. So 5 million ton deposit with 3% copper makes it a very significant deposit because there's not many high grade deposits like that in the world. The drilling that we have done, that we just announced, is shown in this diagram here. You can see the dots in red with the blue outline were released in the most recent press release. We drilled in 3 different areas of the deposit. So the first area that we drilled was, we call it above the dike. This is about 400 meters deep, and it is it's extending the deposit and making the deposit, doing some important infill drilling, giving us more confidence of what the mining will look like in the upper part of the deposit. And the deposit is still open along strike to the south. Then we also drilled in an area which we call below the dike to the south, and the deposit here is wide open. And this is an isometric view. So this intercept here, 6.8 meters of 3.7% copper, I believe it was also 0.26 grams per ton gold, is about 380 meters away from the 2019 resources. So this whole area in blue, and if you can see where my mouse is extending, all of this is going to join the resource. That's why we're quite confident we're going to be able to get the 5 million tons. The thicknesses in this area have also been excellent. And the grades, of course, have been excellent, where you can see consistently we're grading over 3% copper. And the deposit is open along strike. And so as we speak, the company currently steps out 120 meters at a time at this level towards the south to expand out the deposit. The third area that we drilled was with this hole 34, where we had a high-grade intercept of 3.6 meters at 4.5% copper. And what we're looking to do is join the main vein with this deep lens. And there's going to be another series of holes that will be drilled over the course of the year in this area. And so that would expand the deposit further. In terms of the resource update that we're doing, we're just waiting for the assay for this hole here, 32 wedge 2. And once that assay is in, we're going to essentially draw a line in the sand and close out the model for the calculation of the deposit while we continue to drill. So it's that the subsequent resource update that could come at one point next year will include the new assays. Second deposit I'll talk about is the Joe Mann deposit. This is a past producing mine that produced 1.2 million ounces at 8.26 grams per ton gold and 0.25% copper. So it was very high grade. The majority of the production came from the main zone. The company has an option to acquire this deposit from a private group. There's $3 million left to pay for the acquisition, and including 1.5 million in equivalent shares. And the payments will be in January of 2022 and then January of 2023. The company drilled this deposit last year. We drilled the main zone, the west zone, and the far west zone, and we drilled 8,300 meters. The drilling in the main zone was targeting a down dip extension of the previous ore body, and the intercept was 1.3 meters at 6.3 grams gold and 0.5% copper. And then we drilled the west zone where we had an intercept of 4 meters at 10.3 grams per ton gold and 0.37% copper, which is going to extend this area nicely. This tends to be a nuggety deposit, so our plans are to dewater the shaft and drill from underground and put in more tight drill spacing and really drill out this deposit. If we consider that 1.2 million ounces of gold were mined from the upper part of the mine over the first, say, 1,000 meters, over the next 300 meters, we anticipate maybe 300 to 400,000 ounces of gold. And this becomes a nice complementary mine to Corner Bay, where it's going to deliver, say, 30,000 to 40,000 ounces of gold a year, or say 30,000 ounces of gold a year to the mine plan. The Cedar Bay deposit is a deposit a little bit similar to Joe Mann in that it was previously mined. In this case, the mine stopped in 1990. 3.9 million tons at 1.6% copper and 3.2 grams gold were mined, and it was mined down to the 670 meter level. There are resources non-43-101 immediately below the lowest level, but our drilling has been focused at a level around the same level as the shaft. And we've established a resource of 360,000 tons at 8.7 grams gold and 1.9% copper. Our plans again here are to dewater the mine and drill from underground. And with that, we could fully delineate the resources that we have at depth. In both cases of Joe Mann and at Cedar Bay, the company has taken water samples at 100-meter intervals down the shaft, and the water quality has been very good. And finally, I should mention the Copper deposit. This was the largest mine in the camp with 14.9 million tons. It produced 500 million pounds of copper and 1.5 million ounces of gold. It's adjacent to the Cedar Bay deposit, although it's a separate deposit, and it's open at depth, and there's a couple of panels that are in the upper part of the mine. So this will fit into the hub and spoke. However, we're looking to put it in later on in the mine life to understand a little bit better how it will fit with Cedar Bay. Just shows you the potential, though, of mineralization in the camp. Also very key to the hub and spoke operation is the presence of the mill, which is located 14 kilometers from the town of Chibougamau. The mill last operated in 2008. So our workers here will be able to return home at night to this town of 7,500 people. The town of Chibougamau started out as a mining town, really supporting our mines. Since then, it's diversified a little bit. It's diversified into wood products. It is also a government center for the north of Quebec, and the population has been stable at that 7,500 person level. There's a couple of other towns in the vicinity within 100 kilometers of Chibougamau, so the total population in the area is about 12,500 people. The mill has a capacity of 2,700 tons a day. When it was shut down in 2008, it was shut down properly. All the mills were emptied and they were jacked up. All the flotation cells were emptied, as were the thickeners, as were the filters. The tailings facility is located 1.5 kilometers from the mill. It also last operated in 2008. We sample water from the tailings facility on a weekly basis, and we have no environmental issues with the current installations as they are. This site also has substantial other infrastructure. We have an office complex, we have a core shack, we have a compressor room, we have a warehouse. So we have substation, obviously, taking in power from the Quebec grid. So it will require some spending in order to get it back into operation. We've estimated approximately $15 million to do so at the mill, but that's going to be verified by the PA. Another very important factor for all mining companies is our relationship with stakeholders in our communities. We're going to be working with the First Nations community of Ojibwe, which is part of the Cree Nation. They're very experienced with resource development, and we're currently discussing arrangements with them to formalize the relationship. We're already currently working with some Cree affiliated businesses as well. The town of Chibougamau is very supportive of the project. The town was born basically on the backs of our mines, and it's not unusual when you go there, you meet someone who worked at the mine, whose father worked at the mine, whose brother worked at the mine, whose uncle worked at the mine, whose aunt worked at the mine. So we're really integrated, and we will become more integrated with the community. We've got strong relationships with the different Quebec bodies that will regulate us, whether it's the Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources, or the Ministry of Environment. As I mentioned, there are 3 Quebec funds that have currently invested into the project, and there's a couple of others that potentially will do so. Quebec has set up an entity called Plan Nord, which means the North Plan, and that's to develop resource projects in the northern part of the province, and we've been in contact with them as a link between different government agencies, and also they've sent us investors as Plan Nord goes around the world promoting business in Quebec. And another group that has invested in us is the James Bay Development Society. For past historical reasons, they hold a $5.2 million closure bond for our sites. We're looking to apply that bond to our eventual guarantee bond when we look to start up. And SOCAM is an exploration branch belonging to the government, and we actually are joint venture partners with them on a property, and we are neighbors with them on a number of other properties. The objectives for the company during 2021, we're going to drill the 5,000 meter program. The majority of that is going to be at the Corner Bay, following up on the excellent results that we recently just issued. We continue to evaluate properties throughout the camp. This is a very prolific mining camp in Chibougamau, and there's potentially other junior companies that we could acquire. We've made about 3 acquisitions since we started in 2017, and we continue to look at opportunities. We'll have the mineral resources coming out during Q3. We're just waiting for a couple of assays, and in another case, we're just waiting to tidy up the report, and we anticipate the PA by the end of the year. During 2021, as part of the PA, we'll evaluate the dewatering of the shaft in more detail. We'll do the pre-development agreement with the Ojibwe community. And also as part of the PA, we're going to start with the detailed mine plans and the mill rehabilitation plans. During 2022, a lot of the work will be the same. However, just in more detail, as we would plan to be in a more advanced feasibility study. So finally, Doré Copper has assembled a very strong land package in the prolific Lac Doré Chibougamau mining camp. We have high-grade deposits that have growth potential. We have infrastructure in place. We're in a great jurisdiction. So we look at the replacement value of what we have, and it's probably worth a few $100 million. So really, the company represents great value for the investor when we look at the replacement value of what we have. The high-grade deposits that we have will continue to explore. We'll continue to have good press release and results coming out of those deposits, out of those programs, and then we'll look to put together the sequence of how we're going to start up the camp. We do believe that the investment to restart would be, say, in the $120 million Canadian range, which is very reasonable for a mining project, and that should be very simple to finance given the financial partnerships we have and potential assistance from the province of Quebec in terms of financing. So, so that's a high-level summary of what the company is about, and look forward to taking your questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Ernest. You can hear me?
Yes, I hear you fine.
Great, great. Okay, now you can see me too. Yeah, thank you very much to the audience. I think this was very direct and clear. The plan of the company. I already have questions by mail and chat, so I will ask Ernest now, and then he will answer. Okay, ja, danke, dass Sie der Präsentation zugehört haben. Ich fange jetzt einfach mal mit der Fragerunde an. Wenn Sie Fragen haben, unten auf den Chat klicken oder auf F&A, die Q&A-Question, können Sie einfach reinschreiben oder mir mailen. Einige haben mir vorher schon gemailt. Fand ich auch gut, dann konnte ich mich schon mal vorbereiten. So, jetzt kann man mich auch gut sehen. Okay, first question, Ernie, is about your outlook for the next 18 months or something. So the next steps will be advance the properties and then the PEA. Can you go into detail to the PEA? And especially here was a question about the potential cost of production. Yeah. And which will be the first properties you start mining?
Okay, so the PEA will look at restarting a series of the mines. The first property that we start mining will be Corner Bay, and probably we mine the Devlin project right at the beginning with Corner Bay. The reason being, Devlin is a shallow deposit. It's only 5 kilometers from Corner Bay, and it has very similar mineralogy. Corner Bay being the biggest deposit, we would look to mine that first and probably end up mining it last. And then the sequence in the PEA will be, we'll look at Joe Man, we'll look at Cedar Bay, and we'll look at Devlin, but we'll probably mine only 2 deposits at a time. And so when one deposit depletes, we'll start up another deposit. And all during the life of mine of the PEA, we'll have Corner Bay as the key deposit. Now, when we come up with the resource estimate later this quarter, you'll get a feeling for how big Corner Bay is, and then we can see what the mining rate is, whether it's 1,250 tons a day or whether it's 1,500 tons a day or another number, and then we can determine the life of the mine. But we're anticipating a life of mine of 12 to 15 years of Corner Bay, and then having the other deposits complement it. The operating cost will vary depending on which mines we're running, because at some points we get some excellent gold byproduct credits, but as an average operating cost, we're anticipating all-in sustaining cost of about $1.50 a pound over the life of mine. And in terms of the news after the PEA, we then would look to enter a feasibility study. And then in that feasibility study, we then do a little bit more of our drilling as infill drilling in order to get better confidence in the mineral resource that would feed the mine plans for the feasibility study. But at the same time, we're going to continue to do exploration, because the PEA is only going to be looking at, say, 4 or 5 of the deposits, and we have 13, and some of those 13 are not in the PEA, but they do have good exploration potential. So with a little bit of success, we can announce a major improvement or discovery, and then maybe that one will get into the mine plan as well.
Okay.
I think I answered all those. I think I answered all the different questions, but
thank you very much. This was a good answer. Yeah, I will translate now into English this answer. Ja, die Frage war hier nach den Kosten und wie es jetzt in den nächsten 18 Monaten weitergeht. Ich fange mal mit den nächsten 18 Monaten an. Es wird definitiv weiter exploriert. Das Unternehmen hatte ja auch ein Financing gemacht und genug Geld dafür. Jetzt steht erst die Ressourcenschätzung an im Q3 und dann wird man auch sehen, wie groß Corner Bay wirklich ist. Und Corner Bay wird wahrscheinlich auch das Vorkommen sein, diese ehemalige Mine, von der zuerst abgebaut wird. Er hat jetzt natürlich, er kann nicht vorgreifen zur Ressource, das ist weder erlaubt noch möglich, da das unabhängige Gutachter erstellen. Insofern haben wir dazu noch keine Informationen, wir müssen dann gucken, wie es aussieht. Aber er hat so ein paar Eckdaten genannt zu der PEA und dann das Life of Mine, also wie lange kann man dort nach jetzigem Stand abbauen, das sind 12 bis 15 Jahre. Man wird wahrscheinlich immer nur aus 2 Vorkommen parallel abbauen, weil das einfach logistisch und auch von der Kostenseite her am besten ist. Nach Corner Bay könnten dann Joe Man kommt da in Frage, Devlin und so weiter, das sind so 2, 3, 4, die weiter exploriert sind und auch dann größere Chancen bieten. Das hängt auch natürlich von den Kupfergraden ab. Sie wissen, dass je höher die Grade, desto niedriger die Kosten und am Ende auch die Gewinnmarge. Das ist kein das ist ein Zusammenhang, der relativ deutlich ist, abhängig davon, ob sie im Tagebau sind oder im Untertagebau. Bei den Kosten hat er jetzt 1,50 je Pfund Kupfer genannt. Das ist super niedrig. Super darf man hier benutzen, weil der Kupferpreis war, glaube ich, heute Mittag bei 4,26 das Pfund. Also man hat da viel Luft, selbst wenn Kupfer nicht wieder Richtung Allzeithoch läuft, sondern schwächelt und wir vielleicht die unter 4 wieder fallen sollten, dann gibt es da genug Potenzial, um Geld zu verdienen. Gut, und dann mit den Kosten noch, aber das hängt dann ganz stark vom Beiprodukt ab. Also wie man sich entscheidet, Corner Bay steht wohl fest als erstes Vorkommen, was abgebaut wird. Je nachdem, wie viel Goldanteil du hast, desto stärker sinken die Kosten dann natürlich. Wir rechnen jetzt hier immer mit Kupferäquivalent. Der Ernie macht das die ganze Zeit und das ist auch okay. Er plant ja, das hat er auch schon öfter gesagt, 60 Millionen Pfund abzubauen pro Jahr. Das ist so die erste Größe. Genau, und Cormark hat heute eine Kurzstudie rausgegeben zu den Explorationsergebnissen, aber die hatten schon eine größere Studie rausgegeben und die hatte ich, glaube ich, auch einigen von Ihnen schon geschickt. Da hatten sie einen Kurs von $2 für die Aktie und sie hatten auch Kosten deutlich unter 1,60 angesetzt. Also Ernest ist mit dieser Meinung nicht alleine, aber wir werden dann sehen zum Jahreswechsel, wenn die Wirtschaftlichkeitsrechnung, die PEA da ist, wo wir da landen. Und danach gibt es dann eine Feasibility Study und da man weiter exploriert, hofft man dann natürlich auch, dass man dort die Ressource vergrößern kann, damit auch die Lebensdauer der Mine etc. Aber das ist dann das ist halt nächstes Jahr. Jetzt wird erstmal exploriert und die Ressource kommt und die PEA. Okay, this was a long answer from me too, long translation. Okay, I have another question. This was by mail from an investor. It's regarding the partner Ocean Partners. They will buy the whole production. Is that right, or is this? Can you go into detail about that agreement, or is this a planned agreement? Yeah, if you go into detail, it's really nice that the investors can understand your plans and your agreements with Ocean Partners regarding the production.
Yeah, so Ocean Partners have the marketing arrangement, or they're a marketing agents, and so they will market and sell all the concentrates. That's their principal business, is concentrate traders. The terms between us and them are arm's length commercial terms. So as you know, in the copper industry, every year there's a benchmark TCRC that's developed now by a Chinese smelter pool, and I believe the mines in Chile. And we'll follow those same pricing arrangements for TCRC. Ocean Partners then will take delivery of the concentrate and pay us arrival at the port in Canada, or if this concentrate goes to the Glencore smelter in Quebec, they'll pay us 85% of the amount up front. And then when the assay exchange is completed, there's some reconciliation calculations that are done, and the remaining 15% is paid. So it's an arm's length concentrate marketing agreement, no real onerous terms for the company. And Ocean Partners, what they plan on doing with this concentrate is blending it with other concentrates, because our concentrates will be extremely low in, say, arsenic. And they're able to blend our concentrate with another concentrate that is high in arsenic and decrease the arsenic level, say, below penalty level. And then that allows all the material to be processed at a smelter without a penalty. And so really Ocean Partners, they identified these mines in the early 2000s as a source of clean concentrate. They invested into the previous company that was operating called Campbell Resources. And then after the financial crisis, they took control of the assets.
Okay, great. Thank you for this answer. I hope we could answer it very well. Ich versuche nochmal zu übersetzen. Also die Frage war, wie das Agreement oder die Vereinbarung mit Ocean Partners ist. Es ist so, Ocean Partners ist der Großaktionär und hätte in diese Vorkommen auch schon Anfang dieses Jahrtausends investiert. und auch in die Gesellschaft, die vor Doré Copper diese Entwicklung der Vorkommen vorangetrieben hatte. Man hat quasi eine Armlängs, also auf, wie sagt man im Deutschen, Handbreit, nee, Handbreit sagt man nicht, auf Armlänge eine Vereinbarung. Der Preis, also Ocean Partners kriegt keinen besseren Preis. Es gibt so eine TCRC-Vereinbarung der Branche, die von chinesischen und chilenischen, wie Ernest sagte, Händlern entwickelt wurde. Und insofern richtet man sich da quasi nach dem Weltmarktpreis. Geliefert wird an den nächsten Hafen in Quebec, wenn es halt nach Übersee geht, Ostasien, sage ich jetzt mal, oder Europa. Und wenn es in Nordamerika bleibt, dann, es gibt ja die Schmelze vom Glencore und in Quebec und die ist auch nicht so weit weg. Insofern gibt es ja auch zwei Optionen. Ocean Partners, vielleicht als Hintergrund für Sie, ist sowas wie Glencore in klein. Also die sind groß geworden mit Marketing und Verkauf und Handel von Rohstoffen aller Art. Sind nicht so groß wie Glencore. Glencore ist der größte der Welt, mit Abstand, glaube ich, inzwischen. Und Ocean Partners ist aber eine große Nummer, durchaus in Nordamerika. Und die müssen auch kanadisch sein, also keine US-Amerikaner. Genau, und Ocean Partners wird zum Teil aber auch das Konzentrat mischen. Hier haben wir ganz wenig Arsen im Kupfer, was gut ist. Und es gibt auch andere Vorkommen, wo abgebaut wird mit einem höheren Anteil an Arsen. Und dann kann man die Konzentrate mischen. Das ist sowas so als rein technische Info nochmal. Genau, ich glaube, jetzt habe ich alle Punkte genannt, die Ernest genannt hatte. Genau. Okay, Ernest, next question is regarding financings. So you did a financing. So what's your account now? How much cash you have in the company? And when will you need money again?
Okay, we currently have $23 million Canadian in treasury at the present time. And of that 23 million, 12 million approximately needs to be spent on exploration as it was flow-through funds. And the 11 million, we denominate that as hard dollars, which we can spend on exploration, but as well as other items. We will not need financing for the next year and a half. Really the next financing would be for exploration in the 2024 calendar year. So we're quite a ways away. 2021, no, for the 2023 calendar year. Yeah, for the 2023 calendar year. So we'd probably look to do some financing at one point towards the end of next year, and really just for exploration purposes. So we're really well set up, and we do feel that upon finishing the PA, we'll be able to start thinking also a little bit more about development and maybe doing some early works as well. And so we'll consider that potentially in the next financing as well.
Okay, thank you. And maybe, okay, I translate first. Ja, die Frage ist hier, wie viel Geld hat die Firma, wie viel Geld braucht sie, wann gibt es das nächste Financing? Und momentan ist der Kontostand bei 23 Millionen kanadischen Dollar. Die Firma hatte ein Financing gemacht. Ich meine, es war 1,00 der Preis. Die Platzierung der Aktien, wir liegen jetzt drunter. 12 Millionen von diesen 23 Millionen sind allerdings gebunden. Das sind sogenannte Flow-Through-Aktien. Das sind steuerbegünstigte Aktien hier in Kanada. Die werden oft über Stiftungen oder Charity-Gesellschaften vermarktet. Die haben Steuerbonus und die Firma ist aber verpflichtet. Quebec ist da sehr groß. Sie können das ein bisschen vergleichen mit Frankreich. Ja, man ist da ein bisschen vielleicht nicht sozialistisch, aber sozialistischer oder sozialer unterwegs und fördert die Industrie stärker als andere Provinzen in Kanada. Und dieses Geld muss aber Doré Copper in den Boden stecken, also in die Exploration. Das ist speziell dafür vorgesehen. Die anderen 11 Millionen Dollar, da hat man natürlich freie Hand. Also allgemeine Kosten, aber auch die Entwicklung. Mit Copper Rent hat man ja eine Verarbeitungsanlage und man muss auch was an den Minen machen. Und dafür werden die genutzt. Ernest Mast denkt, dass er 18 Monate gut durchfinanziert ist. Also vor 2023 sollte da nichts passieren. Und wenn, dann wiederum nur für Exploration und oder für die Entwicklung von der Anlage und auch den Minen, wenn da noch Geld reingesteckt werden muss, weil dann ist man ja gar nicht mehr so weit weg vom Produktionsstart. Okay, last question, Ernie, regarding production. So what do you think? What is realistic time? When will we start production? And what could be the CapEx?
Yeah, so we think we would start production in 2024. probably mid-year. We're currently starting the permitting process now, where we'll start by the end of this year. We'll submit the permitting documentation to the Quebec government, and it's approximately 2-year approval process. So that means we could be permitted for restarting the operations at the end of 2023, and then it's a matter of getting the mines into operation, getting the mill up and running, and we're going to start doing some of that work previously as well. In terms of the capital cost, we've stated an estimate of 120 million Canadian, 2 of the mines and the mill to come into operation, and the PEA will really prove upon that. When you're putting underground mines into operation, one thing to keep in mind is you can vary the number a bit depending on how much development you want to do as part of your capital cost, your initial capital cost, and how much you're going to leave as sustaining capital. So we have to work out those exact details of how many development levels we want to put into the capital portion of the project compared to putting into the sustaining portion of the project.
Okay. Thank you. So, ich fasse es nochmal zusammen. Also hier kam nochmal die Frage auf, wann ist der Produktionsstart realistisch, wann und wie viel wird das Ganze kosten, der Minenbau dann. Also realistisch sagt er ist 2024, eher zur Mitte hin, aber ich glaube, da ist ein bisschen Luft drin. Ernie ist eher ein konservativer Mensch, was mir auch ganz gut gefällt. Und in meinem Bereich ist es ja oft so, dass viele bei den Zeitpunkten dann doch schieben müssen. Ich hoffe, dass es hier nicht der Fall ist. Und diesen Eindruck habe ich bisher auch nicht. Der Prozess der Genehmigung, der wird ja parallel vorangetrieben und das dauert in 2 Jahren in Quebec. Das geht relativ zügig. Das ist ein wohl definierter Prozess, Verwaltungsakt. Und er hatte ja schon in der Präsentation gesagt, dass sie zum Beispiel immer weiterhin die Wasserproben nehmen, ja, die zum Beispiel Auflagen sind für die Umweltgenehmigung etc. Bei den Kosten, da hängt es davon ab, also er hat jetzt keine Zahlen genannt, da hängt es davon ab, wie weit willst du die Mühle und vor allem den Untergrund schon entwickeln mit Schächten etc. Und schon bei der initialen Finanzierung quasi. Und wie viel wirst du dann später nachholen während des Produktionsprozesses. Davon hängt das ab und da will er sich jetzt, glaube ich, noch nicht festlegen, weil das auch technisch immer so eine Sache ist. Und wir haben ja eigentlich nur noch ein halbes Jahr bis zur PEA, dann haben wir den ersten Überblick durch die Wirtschaftlichkeitsrechnung, wie viel CapEx oder Investitionskosten die Mine verschlingen wird. Okay, das waren jetzt eine ganze Menge Fragen. Ernie, these are a lot of questions and thank you for the answers. If you have more questions, you can afterwards mail me, dede@soarfinancial.com, or you can mail Mr. Hoffman, Kai Hoffman@soarfinancial.com. Kai is not here, but so I'm here for you. Thank you very much for your time here and for your interest in Doré Copper. If you want to have the new study from Cormac, please just mail me, and you can get more information on the website of the company or at soarfinancial.com. Ja, vielen Dank allen für die Teilnahme und die Interesse und die Zeit, die Sie investiert haben. Ich glaube, hier sind einige, die schon vielleicht Investoren sind, andere sind noch nicht dabei. Genau, wenn Sie noch Fragen haben, mailen Sie mir, dede@soarfinancial.com. Und wir haben auch in der Bestätigungsmail immer eine E-Mail-Adresse. Ansonsten kann man auch der Company mailen. Und wenn Sie Interesse an der Studie haben, heute hat Cormac ja die Kurznotiz zu den Explorationsergebnissen rausgebracht, dann einfach nochmal bei mir anfragen. Dann gucke ich, dass wir das Ihnen liefern können. Okay, ansonsten bleibt mir, ich glaube, jetzt ist Sommerpause in Europa und in Nordamerika too. So Ernest, it's summertime now in Europe and I think in North America too. The drills are working, but the people went to holiday. Okay, yeah, vielen Dank. Thank you very much, Ernest. Thank you to the participants of this last webinar before the summer break. I wish you a nice time und ich wünsche Ihnen einen schönen Sommer. Hoffentlich sieht man sich bald wieder. Thank you very much, Ernest.
Thank you.